Hi guys, this is Vineet and I welcome you to this video. Today's video topic is how you can set up package properties in SQL Server Data Tools or SSDT, and this is available within the SQL Server Integration Services or SSIS. Before we proceed ahead, I would request you guys to please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, or if you are new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There's a subscribe button coming below this video. Click on that subscribe button. It will give you a bell icon. Click on that bell icon. Select all notifications to get notifications regarding all my future and upcoming videos. So let me give you 5 seconds. Please go ahead and subscribe right away. I'm waiting, guys. Please go ahead and subscribe. So guys, I hope you must have subscribed by now. In case you want to make any contributions or donations to our channel, then you can do so by scanning the UPI code coming on the right hand side through any of the UPI apps, for example, Google Pay, Phone Pay, etc., to make the payment, whatever donations offering you want us to pay. And else, if you want to pay us via website, you can go to my topmed.org page. The link is given below in the blue color. Follow this link and make a payment as a donation and offering to us. Now let's come back to today's topic, which is how you can set up the package properties in SQL Server. So let me quickly take you to notes. Today we have to cover demo 4 where we will tell you how you can set up various package properties. Let me open Visual Studio in the meantime because yesterday we were working on one of the projects. So I hope you have watched my previous video. If not, please go ahead and do so. So I'm launching Visual Studio 2022 and we have notes as well. And we are discussing on demo 4, which is how you can set up various package properties. Now, whenever you create package in SQL Server Data Tools by using the graphical interface that integration services provide, you set the properties of package objects in the properties window. So it is launched. And let me open up the project that we were creating yesterday, which is create package tutorial. So we set the properties in this graphical interface of integration services, where we set up the properties of any of the package objects in the properties window. Now the properties window provide a categorized and alphabetical list of properties if we talk about. And we can arrange the property window by category. We can click on the categorized icon. Now when the properties are arranged by category, so let me show you one of the properties window. So in case if you want to view the package properties, you can right click on any of the package and select properties. It will open up a properties window. This is the property window. Right now it is showing up very few settings. But yeah, we can categorize. Now we are under the categorize view, which is first button. So if you want to view the properties by category, you can click on this button to show the properties in a categorized manner. Now, second option is you can arrange the properties in alphabetical manner as well. Right now, it is arranged in a categorical way. Now, when the properties are arranged in a categorical way or arranged by category, the properties window group properties in the following categories. So one of the categories location, which is coming right now. You may see other categories as well, which can be checkpoints, execution, forced execution value, identification, miscellaneous, security, transactions, versions. These can be some of the categories. One of the categories location as well, which is coming right now. I've talked about the other categories as well, which can be checkpoints, execution, forced execution value, identification, miscellaneous, security, transaction, and version. These can be some of the sections within this property window. Let's talk about properties by categories. Let's discuss about the checkpoint thing. So checkpoint can be one of the categories under the properties box. Right now only the location is coming, but you may see checkpoint sometime. And you can use the properties in this category to restart the package from a point of failure in the package control flow instead of rerunning the package from the beginning of its control flow. So if you are seeing some category like checkpoints over here, You can use, let me write that down. So write down some notes for you. So let's discuss properties by category. So if we talk about properties by category, some of the categories are, one of the categories checkpoints. Under that we have various, so we talk about the checkpoint category, checkpoints category. We can use the properties under this category to restart the package from a point of failure in the package control flow instead of rerunning the package from the beginning of its control flow. Now, the properties which come under this checkpoints category, let me list those out. So, these can be, some of the properties can be, let's define those properties. Some of the properties can be checkpoint file name. Second property is checkpoint usage. Third property can be save checkpoints. Now, let's talk about each one of them. So, if we talk about the checkpoint file name, it defines the name of the file. Let me write that down. It defines the name of the file that captures the checkpoint information. So the name of the file that is containing the checkpoint information, it is denoted by the property checkpoint file name. And this checkpoint information basically enables a package to restart from a particular checkpoint. And when the package finishes successfully, this file gets deleted. All right. So we have discussed about one of the properties, which is checkpoint file name. Another property can be checkpoint usage. Let's talk about this property. And this property, if we talk about it, basically specifies when a package can be restarted. So it specifies the time when the package can be restarted. And the values under this property categories, the values are never, if exists, and always. And if we talk about the default value of this property is never. So by default, this property is set to never. And never basically indicates, if it is set to never, never indicates that the package cannot be restarted. All right, let's discuss about the third property, which is save checkpoints. Let's talk about that. And this property basically specifies whether the checkpoints are written to the checkpoint file when the package runs. The default value of this property is false. So guys, we have discussed three properties under the category checkpoints. So this checkpoints category has three properties: checkpoint file name, checkpoint usage, and save checkpoints. Now let's discuss about some other categories. The other category can be, and one more point regarding this, we can use the checkpointing option or a checkpointing switch on option of if we run the command line utility dt execute, which is basically used to execute the package, and this is basically equivalent to setting the save checkpoints property of the package to true. In case we use this particular switch, it is equivalent to using the save checkpoints property set to true, and this is also equivalent to checkpoint usage set to always. All right, let's discuss about the second section or second category of property, which can be, this section can be execution. And if we talk about the properties under this category, the properties in this category configure the runtime behavior of the package objects. So whatever properties which are defined under this section basically indicates or helps us in configuring the runtime behavior of the package objects. So let's see what all the properties are under this category. So one of the properties can be delay validation under this category. Delay validation basically indicates whether package validation is delayed until the package runs. So packages are not validated if this property is set to true. The package validation is delayed until the package, we actually run the package. Until that point, the package validation is delayed. And if we talk about the default property of this value, the default value of this property is basically set to false. So basically there is no delay validation because this property is set to false by default. Now let's talk about another property. So another property is disable. So under execution we have a disable property. Let's talk about this property. Now if we talk about this property, it basically indicates whether the package is disabled. Right now the package is not showing us these properties, even not the category of execution. Don't see that right away. There's no execution category, but yeah, we can sometimes see this package category. Let's see the properties over here. Here also it is, this is not a property window, but the property pages for the project. But yeah, package properties can be viewed by right clicking and going to properties. So far only one category is coming, location. Under that we have some properties like file name and full path. But yeah, let's discuss some of the other properties that we can encounter. So under execution right now we are discussing the disable property, which basically indicates whether the package is disabled. And the default value of this property is false. Now let's discuss another property, which is disable event handlers for the package execution. Let's see what this is. So this property basically specifies whether the package event handler runs, and the default value of this property is set to false. So by default, the event handlers are enabled. And if we want to disable the event handlers, we can set this property to true. Let's talk about next property, which is fail package on failure. Fail package on failure is one of the other properties under the execution section or execution category. The fail package on failure basically specifies whether the package fails if an error occurs in a package component. So if an error occurs within the package component, it will fail out the whole package. And the only valid value of this property is false. So basically the only option available to us is false. So if we want to fail the complete package on failure, it is by default behavior. And the only option we can set it to is false, so that the package should not fail upon a failure of a particular package component. Let's talk about next property, which is fail parent on error. This is another property which we may encounter sometime. So this property fail parent on error basically specifies, this property specifies whether the parent container fails if an error occurs in a child container. And if we talk about the default property of this, default value of this property, the default value is false for this property. All right, let's discuss about the next property, which is max concurrent executables. And if we talk about this property, max concurrent executables, it basically specifies the number of executable files that the package can run consecutively or concurrently. Not consecutively, but concurrently or simultaneously, you can say. So this property specifies how many number of executable files that a package can run concurrently. And the default value of this property is basically -1, which basically indicates that there is no limit, which means that any number of files can run concurrently. Any number of executable files can run concurrently. Now let's go to next property, which is maximum error count, which we can encounter. Let's define this property. What is this property? It basically specifies the maximum number of errors that can occur before a package stops running. So it basically specifies the maximum number of errors that should occur before a package stops running. And the default value of this property is 1. Let's talk about next property, which is the last property under the execution section or execution category. The property name is package priority class. And this is basically the Win32 thread priority class of the package thread. This property basically signifies the Win32 thread priority class of the package thread, and the values are available under this property are defaults, above normal, normal, below normal, and idle. These are some of the property values. And if we talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is defaults. All right, so we are done with the properties under the execution section. Now let's specify the next category. We talk about next category. It is the forced execution value. We can see this category as well sometimes. So the category is forced execution value. Now let's define this category. So the properties under this category configure an optional execution value for the packages. Let's discuss about the individual properties under this category. So the first property is the forced execution value. Let's see what it signifies. Now the forced execution value. Now if this property is set to true, a value that specifies the optional execution value that the package returns. So if this property is set to true, and if we define a value which specifies the optional execution value that the package returns, and the default value of this property is 0, is set to 0, we can set it to whatever value our we expect our package to return. We can set it to that value. Basically, we can set this property true and false, and if we specify this property to true, there is another property which is force execution value, where we can specify a boolean value. We'll come to that. Basically, if this property is set to true, a value that specifies the optional execution value that the package returns. All right, let's come to the next property. The next property is forced execution value type, where we are defining the forced execution value type, what it should be, what should be the type of this value. So this property indicates the data type of forced execution value, which is another property. We are discussing it shortly. So this forced execution value type defines the data type of the forced execution value property, and the default value of this property is int32, which means an integer will be returned when the package execution finishes. Now the next property is the force execution value, and this force execution value is basically a boolean value that specifies whether the optional execution value of the container should be forced to contain a particular value. We will show you some practicals in order to properly specify these facts or specify these properties. So stay in tune with us. Do subscribe to our channel, guys. Here we are defining these properties theoretically. Now, if we talk about the default value of this property, it is set to false by default. All right, so we are done with the properties under the force execution value category. Now, if we talk about the next category, the next category is the identification category. Let's talk about identification. If we talk about the identification category, the properties in this category provide information such as unique identifier and name of the package. So basically it contains properties related to the identification of package, and some of the properties available in this category includes the following. Let me specify those properties for you. It can specify the package creation date, which basically indicates the date that the package was created. Right now, we do have empty package. That's the reason we are not seeing much of the properties here. But once we define the package and if we add package components and if we compile the package, we start seeing up many of the properties which we are defining here on the Word file. Now, one of the properties is the creation date, which basically specifies the date that the package was created on. And there's another property which is the creator computer name. Creator computer name is another category or another property. So creator computer name basically specifies the name of the computer on which the package was created. So basically it displays the name of the computer where the package was created. Now let's talk about the creator name property, which basically specifies the name of the person who created the package. This property specifies the name of the person who created the package. And next property is the description one. So if we talk about this property, it basically gives the description of the package. So this is basically a description of package functionality. We can write down the package description over here. Okay, guys, let's talk about the next property, which is the ID property. Let me write that down for you. So we are talking about the ID property, and this is basically indicating to the, so this ID property is a basically package quit. You can say the ID property refers to the package quit, which is assigned when the package is created. And if we talk about this property is a read-only property, and we can generate a new random value for the ID property. So for that, we need to select the generate new ID in the drop-down list function. So let me show you this property in the UI quickly. So if we go to Visual Studio, here we are on the control flow tab. You can right click on it and go to the properties window. It will show you that property under the identification section. So this is the ID property. Right now we see that it is showing you a GUID, a big GUID. And this is the GUID for the package, and you can obviously generate a new GUID by clicking on the drop down and creating a generate new ID. This will create a new ID for you. So this is how you can generate a new package GUID if you want to. Now let's come back to properties. Let's talk about the name property. So we talk about name property. It defines the name of the package. So let's check that property. So this is the name. The name of the package is package here. This is referring to the package.ttsx package. The name of the package is package here. We can change the name over here as well. So let me mark it as test package to change the name. And we have changed the name of the package. It is now test package. Let's move ahead with the next property. The next property is package type. Package type is the next property. So if we talk about the package type, it basically denotes the package type, the type of the package. And the values for this property are defaults, DTS designer, and there can be DTS designer 100, and we have DTS wizard as well. And we have, apart from that, SQL GP maintenance denoted by this keyword, and SQL replication is another option we can select. To basically these options define the package type. Right now the package type is selected to DTS designer 100, and we can change this property anytime. So some of the options available are given over here. All right, we will talk about these properties in very much detail in our upcoming videos. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do so. Let's go to the properties under the miscellaneous section. And the one it is showing to me is showing me some collection. So if you click on this, it's a collection of property where we can enable certain configurations, and we can add, click on the add button to open up the welcome to package configuration visit. Let's close it for now and let me define this property. So there are several properties available under the miscellaneous section. So miscellaneous section has configuration property. We have expressions under the miscellaneous section as well. And some of the other properties include the force execution result, locale ID, logging mode, offline mode, and we have suppress configuration warnings, and the last property is update object. So these are some of the properties here. This whole section is the miscellaneous section. All right, let's go into each property in a little bit detail. So let me take you through miscellaneous section properties. So the fifth section is the miscellaneous properties. Let's define this category. The properties in this category, if we talk about, are used to access the configurations and expressions. We can define configurations and expressions under this property. And these configurations and expressions, if we talk about, these are used by the package or that a package uses. And these properties also provide information about the locale and logging mode of the package. Let's discuss some of the properties under this package. So first property is the configurations. We can define certain configurations under this category. So the collection configurations are basically collection of properties. So the collection of it basically refers to a collection of configurations that the package uses. And we can use this browse button. So there's a browse button right next to the collections. You can click on this button to view and configure the package configurations. So right now, let me disable the package configurations for now. We'll delve into this in a deeper sense later. Let's talk a little bit about the expressions. So expressions can be used to create expressions for package properties, and we can if we talk about, we can create property expressions for all the package properties that the object model includes, not just the properties listed in the properties window. So we can use all the properties available to us via the object model of SSIS. We can use all those properties while defining the expressions. And we can view the existing property expressions by expanding the expressions. So if we go there, right next to expression, there's a 3-button bar. Right now, none of the expression is defined over the property, right? But yeah, we can create some properties and expression here. So these are some of the properties available via the object model. And using this property, we can create certain expression using this button. We can use certain mathematical string and datetime functions. Right now, we are not talking about this in detail. We are just touching upon that. So we will later cover on what are the expressions and how to use them in detail. So stay in touch. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel quickly. There's a subscribe button below this video. Now let's come to the next property, which is the force execution result, and the options available are none, success, failure, and completion. Let me write that down. So the next property is force execution result, and basically it refers to the, let me create some space between these properties. So if we talk about the force execution result, it basically denotes the execution result of the package, and the values available are, we have just shown you. The values are none, success, failure, and what was the last property? The completion. And if we talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is set to none. And we will talk about this property in detail a little bit later. But yeah, this property denotes the execution result of the package. And right now the result is none. Now, next property is the locale ID. So if we talk about locale ID, it basically denotes Microsoft Win32 locale. And if we talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is the locale of the operating system on the local computer. All right, so right now if we see locale is set to English United States, which is the locale of my system as well. And the locale can be checked by right clicking on the, you can open up regional settings to region settings to check the locale. So if you check about the region settings under the regional format, it is set to English United States, which basically specifies the locale of your system, which is English United States at present. Let's go back to notes. So after locale ID, we have another property called logging mode. If we talk about the logging mode is a value that specifies the logging behavior of the package. So right now, if we take a look at logging mode, it is set to use parent setting and it can be enabled or disabled. Right now, it's using the setting of the parent, which is project. A project is basically a parent of package. So it is using the project level settings. So it's using the parent setting, but can be set at individual level as well. It can be enabled here or disabled here so that it can bypass the parent settings. So logging mode is the value that specifies the logging behavior of the package. All right. And the values available are, the values are disabled, enabled, and use parent settings. And if we talk about the default value of this property is use parent settings. All right, that we have shown you. Okay, let's discuss about another one of the other properties. And logging mode is done, guys. And let me check what all other properties we have. We have next is the offline mode, which is set to false at present. Let's see what all options are available over here. False or true, maybe the there. The other option could be true only. So right now the offline mode is set to false. So let's talk about this offline mode in a little bit detail. So we talk about offline mode. It basically indicates whether the package is in offline mode. And if we talk about this property is a read-only property, and we cannot modify this property. Right now, the package is showing in offline mode. And if we talk about this property is set at the project level. We will be able to set this property at project level only. And normally, if we talk, the SSIS designer tries to connect to each data source used by your package to validate the metadata associated with sources and destinations. And we can enable work offline from the SSIS menu. So we can select the work offline from SSIS menu as well. So there's an option work offline. Even before we can open the package. So we can select work offline from the SSIS menu. Even before we open a package to prevent these connection attempts and the resulting validation errors. So by default, if we talk about the SSIS deny, it tries to connect to each of the data source that your package uses to validate the metadata associated with the sources and destination. All right. So if we set it to work offline, it will not do those checks and it will prevent any connection attempts and any resulting validation error messages. And this is the purpose of the offline mode. And we can also enable work offline to speed up the operations in the designer. So another option to use this work offline setting is we can also enable this setting work offline to basically speed up operations in the designer and disable it only when you want your package to be validated. So basically, if we turn off this setting at the project level, like if I disable the setting, right now it's not showing me up. uh, the offline setting, it was showing me issue. So right now it is showing me work offline. So if I select work offline, now if it is set to work offline, so right now this setting is set to true. Offline mode is enabled. So it will not do any validations, right? And it will not show us any error messages. And you can simply turn off this setting from here as well. So right now it is set to false now. All right, let's move on to next setting, which is the suppress configuration warning. As the name justifies, it will basically suppress any configuration related warnings if the configuration is not correct or so. It will suppress those warnings. So it basically indicates, so right now if we take a look at this setting, it is not suppressing any configuration warnings, but yeah, we can suppress it by these warnings by setting it to true. Let's talk about this property. So it indicates whether the warnings generated by configurations are suppressed. The default value of this property is false. All right. Let's move on to next property, which is update objects. And this is the last property under the miscellaneous category. So yeah, update object is the last property. It can be either set to true or false. And let's talk about this property. All right. So update objects basically indicates whether the package is updated to use newer versions of the object it contains, if in case newer versions are available. For example, if we take, if this property is set to true, a package that includes a bulk insert task is updated to use the newer version of the bulk insert task that integration services provides. And if you talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is set to false. All right. Let's move to the next category of section, which is security section given over here. And under security, we have two properties, which are package password and the production level. So let's discuss this property under the security section in a little bit detail. So far, we were discussing about the miscellaneous category. And right now, let's discuss about the category security. So if we talk about the properties under this category, so the properties under this category are used to set the protection level, basically, the protection level of the package. Now let's discuss about some of the properties here. Some of the properties present under the security section are, let me discuss them. So the first property is the package password. Let's talk about this property in little detail. So the package password, basically, this is the password for package protection levels. And what are the package protection levels? The package protection levels are encrypt sensitive with password. And the second protection level is encrypt all with password. All right. That require the password. Right now, if we see no password is set over here, but yeah, definitely we can set the new password and confirm it there. And right now the production level is set to encrypt sensitive with user key. And the other option could be encrypt sensitive information with password, and encrypt all with password, and encrypt all with user key. So there are two options. We can either encrypt the package by using the user key, or we can encrypt the package by using the password. So this is referring to the package password and this is particularly related to these two properties: encrypt sensitive information with password and encrypt all information with password. For these two properties, we need to specify the package password. All right, so let's move on to next property, which is the protection level. So let's discuss about protection level here. So this basically specifies the protection level of the package, and the values are don't save sensitive information is one of the options, and other options are encrypt sensitive information with the user key, and other option could be encrypt sensitive information with the password, And another option could be encrypt all with password. This is the another option. And there's also an option called server storage. This can be another option. Uh, I haven't seen server storage over here. It is not available to us. But yeah, in some cases we do see server storage as well. But right now it is not available to us. So these are some of the options available under here. And if we talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is encrypt sensitive information with the user key. That is the default option over here, encrypt sensitive information with the user key. All right, let's move on to next section, which is talking about the transactions here. So let's go back to notes. Let me copy this security section. The next section is transaction section. So let me mark it with transactions keywords. There are two properties available under the transaction section. So if we take a look here, we have the transaction isolation level and transaction options as well. So let's talk about them in a little bit detail. Now, first of all, let me define this category, particularly the transactions. And if we talk about the properties in this category, we talk about the properties in this category, and these properties configure the isolation level and the transaction option of the package. And let's talk about the options available. So let's first talk about the isolation level. Let's talk about the isolation level. This basically indicates the isolation level of the package transaction, and the values available under this category is the values available under this category are unspecified is one of the option. Chaos is one of the option. Another option could be read uncommitted, and next option is read committed. Next option is repeatable read. Another option could be serializable, and another option could be snapshot. And if we talk about the default property is serializable for the isolation level. So the default property, or we can say the default value of this property is serializable. All right. So there's a note related to this property. So the snapshot value of the isolation value property. So there's an option available for this. We have snapshot option present over here. So the snapshot value of this property we talk about. So the snapshot value of the isolation level property is incompatible with package transactions. Let me write that down for you. The snapshot value of the isolation level property is incompatible with the package transactions. Therefore, you cannot use the isolation level property to set the isolation level of packet transaction to snapshot. Instead, use a SQL query to set the package transaction to snapshot. So basically, if we are talking about the snapshot property, this is not compatible with the package transaction. And basically, we cannot and we should not be using this property here to set it to snapshot, even though we can set it to snapshot here. So if we select that, it will say that property value is not valid. So we cannot set it to snapshot directly from here. But instead, what we do is we use a SQL query. So instead, if we talk about, instead we use a SQL query to set package transactions to snapshot. And we will tell you about that. So there's a statement in SQL called set transaction isolation level. By using this statement in the SQL Server, we can set the transaction isolation level to snapshot. Later on, we will show you how to do that. And basically, if we talk about this isolation level property, if we talk about this property, the system applies the isolation level property to package transactions. So this property isolation level property is applied to the package transactions only when the value of the transaction option property is required. So if it is and the transaction option is set to required, the system applies the isolation level property to package transaction only when the value of the transaction property is required. So right now it is set to supported, but if it is set to required, the system applies the isolation level, which is serializable at the moment, property to the package transaction only, if it is set to required. So let me move on to notes quickly. And there is more to the isolation level. Let me just go through that quickly. So one more thing is that the value of the isolation level property requested by a child container is ignored when the following conditions are true. So the value of the isolation property requested by a child container is ignored when the following conditions are set to true. Let's talk about those conditions. What are those two conditions? The value. So the condition number one here, if we can say, the condition number one is the value of the child containers transaction option property is supported. Second condition, okay. Another option or condition should be the child container joins the transaction of parent container. Guys, we'll talk about these things in detail. Just for the purpose of explaining the properties, I'm discussing these properties in a very brief manner over here. So far we are discussing about the isolation level. All right, let's move on to next property, which is the transaction option. So which is the second property over here, transaction option. Three of the options are not supported and required. So let's talk about them. So it basically denotes the transactional participation of the package, whether the package will participate in the transactions or not. So this property basically indicates or shows the participation of the package, and the values available under this property are non-supported, supported, and the last option is required. So three values are available: non-supported, supported, and required. And if we talk about the default value of this property, the default value of this property is supported, which we can see here. The default value is supported. All right, we are done with the transaction section. So let us move on to the version section. Let me copy the category out. This will be the eighth category. So eighth category is version. Under version, we have several properties available. One is version build, version commands, version grid, version major, and version minor. Let's talk about them briefly over here. So first of all, let's define this category. The properties in this category basically provide information about the version of the package object. So some of the options available here are the version build, which is one of the properties. It basically indicates the version number of the build of the package. Second property is the version comments, which basically indicates the comments about the version of the package. Third property is the version grid, and version grid basically indicates the grid of the version of the package. And this property is read only. We cannot change it. So this property we are talking about the version grid. We cannot change this property via the generate grid function. We cannot change the version grid. Let's talk about next property, which is the version measure. So the version measure property refers to the latest major version of the package. And there is also one property called version minor, and this property indicates the latest minor version of the package. So we are done with properties, and we have shown you how you can set up some of the properties. Once you set the property, so basically if you want to set any of these properties that we have discussed under the 8 categories, you need to go to the Visual Studio, right? And we have opened the SSDT environment, and we have opened the integration services project, and we have opened up one of the package, which is package.dts6 to configure. Now in the solution explorer, we have already double clicked on the package to open the package. And in the control flow tab, we basically right click anywhere in the background and select properties to open up this dialog box. and we can edit any of the properties over here in the various 8 categories. I think we have discussed 8 categories. Yeah. So we can set properties under each and every category over here. So once you configure the properties over here, and if you want to save those property changes, what you need to do is you need to go to the file menu and you need to select save selected items to save the updated package. So guys, we are done with this video, and this video was on setting the package properties. I hope you like this video. If you really like this video, please hit on the like button and share this video with your friends. And also guys, if you are new to this channel and if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and do so. There's a subscribe button below this video. Click on that subscribe button. It will give you a bell icon. Click on that bell icon and select all notifications to get notifications regarding all my future and upcoming videos. And guys, in case you want to donate to us or donate to our channel, you can do so. There are two ways to donate your offerings or donations to us. There's a topmate.io link given in the blue color at the bottom of this page. You can type out this link on any of your browser to open the topmate.io page. From there, you can make any contributions or donations to us. Another option is if you are using UPI based applications like Google Pay or Phone Pay, or any other UPI apps, you can scan my UPI code, which is given on the right hand side. Scan the code and make contributions to us. Whatever you feel is okay for you, you can contribute that to us. All right, guys, I thank you so much for your time on this video today, and you have a wonderful day ahead.